All right, here we are. We're back finally to the NRG series online trial we have today. We have Modern for you. We're going to bring for you all day long. We uh, we apologize for missing last couple events. Sometimes things happen, outside of our control. And in this case, I'm not going to tell you what it was. You don't need to know the details. But someone that the Nerd Rage family cares very much about uh, was having some issues, and it needed our attention. Anyway, we're back. We're going to be here. I'm going to be joined to start with for the first half of the day by Carolyn and Kavanagh. Let's bring her right in.
Hello.
Hi. So we've got some Modern here today, which we were very happy with your performance last time. So we're like, hey, let's bring her back.
Nice. Modern is definitely more of my format too, which is pretty exciting.
Nice. Yeah, Modern is a format that has, well, like kind of the rest of Magic, somewhat changed, I would say, in the last year and a half or so of sets. And we're likely to see some very powerful cards that have debuted. If you're kind of just an occasional Magic fan and you're checking in today, you're going to see some things you probably hadn't seen before, and they're going to look fairly strong, but that's okay.
Wait, someone's going to see Omnath for the first time today? Oh, no.
We'll see. And if
I'm not prepared.
They will be impressed, I am sure. And they'll be like, wow, cool, I'm going to try this card in Standard. Except you're not. So, I don't want to waste too much time here, as it's been a long time that we've been away. We have plenty to talk about throughout the day. Caroline has some exciting things that have developed for her, and along with what's just going on in general with the Nerd Rage world. But we're going to go ahead and get our first round going for you. We're going to bring up, we've got Topher Stitson playing Death and Taxes against Jamie Robertson playing Dredge, is what I've been told to expect. So let's go ahead and bring up whatever. Okay, here we are. We're watching from Topher's point of view, it looks like. And we see our Hand of Death and Taxes whenever the players are ready to get things started. While the screen is waiting to clear out. The name bar on the side, I believe, was for our previous match, so maybe we can get that updated. And we see a mulligan here. But Caroline, so we have Death and Taxes versus Dredge.
These are two decks I'm very not familiar with. They're just not mainstays at the moment. I think Dredge might be, but Mono White Death and Taxes was not on the list of things I was thinking I would see today.
Yeah, and Dredge is probably not as popular as it was maybe a couple of years ago.
Sorry, I just saw Maul of the Skyclaves, and that card is so powerful in limited, but I didn't really think about it in a modern deck.
It's extremely impressive in limited, and I played a lot of limited with the current set. And then when you can search it up with Stoneforge Mystic, it becomes, I mean, because it auto attaches, it's really like a combat trick.
Oh wow, that's so cool! I didn't think about that.
Very cool.
This hand, though, is not looking fantastic.
It really isn't. I mean, Aether Vial is certainly a nice card to have to get things started, but the Maul of the Skyclaves, obviously, you'd rather have, I don't know, a creature, but it's not overcosted, so maybe we can see it get working.
My fear is our lands are quite painful, and we are playing against a deck that, is trying to kill us quite quickly.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
That's fine. That helps. I mean, it's going to save a lot of life points. It's not going to advance the board at all. And Archon of Emeria, which is a newish card, it's a flyer, limits the frequency that you can cast spells. Is that going to matter very much against Dredge?
Think so. Like they might, like, it will stop them from doing like a really good turn, like discard with Cathartic Reunion and then Conflagrate or something, but I don't think it will be that impactful.
No, I don't expect it will be either. And this is a card, this is probably one of, this is a card that, I mean, there's some auto includes in the deck, obviously Stoneforge Mystic, Dahlia, Flicker Wisp, Giver Runes, and then there's some cards that, kind of, you could play this, you could play that one. Archon of Emeria is kind of an optional card, I would say, for a deck like this.
I will say that we haven't seen it. We saw it in the Mulligan, but there is another new card in this deck, and that's the Skyclave Apparition. which I think is a really cool addition to a deck like this. That's the new 3 mana 2/2 that exile something, and then when it leaves play, you get a token of the card instead of the actual card, which is a really powerful effect.
Yeah, they didn't skimp on this card. It's I mean, it's not oversized, but its ability to, instead of remove a creature, it can remove anything that costs 4 or less from the board. That can be really, really nice. And here in this matchup, where I mean, there are going to be creatures that come into play that can come back into play from the graveyard. So exiling is going to be nice. On top of that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to highlight the Dredge player really didn't have a great turn 1 or a great turn 2, and did really have to just, cast the Life for the Loam just to get a Dredger going. What are your thoughts on our Dredge opponent's hand?
Well, I mean, if their start is just, turn 2 Life for the Loam for, nothing of consequence, and then Dredge, I'm going to say that their hand is probably good, because that's not a good start. I mean, really what we're looking for at the beginning is, ideally some way to pitch on turn 1 with the artifact, which the name escapes me for the moment.
Shriekhorn.
Shriekhorn, right.
Oh, Ox of Agonis. Oh, that's a fun addition.
Oh, that's such a strong card, too. So, so that's a new card that if you haven't seen the deck in a while, maybe we can bring up Ox of Agonis. This is kind of it seems expensive, 5 mana, but the escape cost being only 2, it's actually very cheap. And a very strong effect. Discard your hand, something that Dredge often wants to do anyway, and then draw 3, or in this case, just dump 15 cards in the graveyard.
So the Death and Taxes player has not done a lot in this game, but this Archon is actually, it's going to hold off the board. There's no crazy turns can happen for our Dredge, and they haven't really been punished because our Dredge opponent was quite slow out of the gate. So a 2/3 is also not nothing in this board.
Right, and it has flying, and so the pesky little Narcomoebas can't just get in for free hits like they often do. And while I was saying that, Ox's drawback where pitching your hand isn't a big deal, here when you have 8 cards in hand, that's not great for, Ox might be negligible drawback a lot of time, but here, that's a lot to give up.
Wow, we're back to the same spot where casting Life from the Loam is our opponent's best play. And when we know they can't cast a second spell, that can't be that great. This is an interesting game.
Yeah, even though I was just talking about not wanting to discard, my whole hand, I feel like if we have the land drop in hand, which we probably do because of, the previous Life from the Loam, then if this is all we're doing, then let's just Ox and pitch our hand maybe.
I think there wasn't 8 cards for Ox, but I'm not quite, it was a little fast. I think it was closer to 7. I think it was 7 and the Ox.
You were right.
Yeah. This was a good draw with this Bloodghast. Well, good in the sense that it will deal with the Bloodghast. It's not actually doing much right now anyway. Actually, I have a question for you, Joe. Drawing the Skyclave Apparition, our Aether Rouse on 3, are you actually just tempted here to leave it for Ox to kind of deal with that problem once and for all?
Well, so Skyclave can't actually pick off the Ox.
Oh, you're right. Of course.
It costs 5.
I was thinking 2 because it comes back for 2 mana. But yeah, you're totally right.
Right. Okay, and there's a second one. I do think there was a choice here, certainly, for Tyler, as the Maul of the Skyclaves could have come down this turn instead of breaking the Canopy Land, which certainly would have increased the damage output of this little flyer here. As Narcomoeba may would have blocked once, but even so, we would have started getting through for quite a bit of damage after that.
Yeah, it's interesting because it does feel like Topher is trying to leave path up for this Ox, because that can actually deal with the Ox as much as I want other cards to. So if that's possible, what was going through their head there. Also, can we just talk about, we were focusing on the Ox in the yard, and an Ox from hand just got cast.
Yeah, that's
great. Jamie's like, oh, you think I'm going from the yard? No. I got 5 mana.
The backup plan. This is like hard casting and Force of Will. The Ox of Agonis comes down, ditches the hand, mills quite a number of cards, including 2 Creeping Chills, which drastically changed the race as far as life totals go. No additional creatures came into play, which is unfortunate, but there is a prized amalgam in the graveyard, so that's something for the future. Also, another Ox can come back next turn, and now forever. Any additional Oxes will always have 8 cards in the graveyard.
Oh, here we go. Okay, now we got some creatures coming back.
Right,
By the time we get back to Topher's turn, to Jamie's turn, there'll be some creatures. But I wanted to ask a little bit about the Skyclave apparition. It did take out the Narc amiibo. What do you think that's a nod to? Instead of taking out the Bloodghast.
Yeah, well, I guess it clears the way from the flyer being blocked, but I'm with you that seems lesser impact. But if we load up the Archon here, then okay, then I guess it can get in repeatedly, and there's 1, 2, 3. There's only one Narcomoebile left in the deck, so the Archon's kind of an unopposed clock, but the damage really needs to get going here, as Topher's. I mean, this Dredge deck can just burn you out. It doesn't have to finish the game with combat damage.
We actually are really close to being burned out, though we do have the Skyclave apparition, so we'll be okay. But because there's another 3/3 coming back this turn, and there's a Conflagrate in the yard, going up to 4 cards. So Topher is definitely in range of being burnt out. Those creeping chills, they creep up on you.
Yeah,
and get you pretty quickly.
Very clever. Yes, and there's only one left because the first creeping chill is actually in the opening hand. So we see it there in the grave that got pitched to the Ox. So that one is dead as far as this game is concerned. And the Maul comes down on the apparition. And the apparition attacks alone. So I guess we can conclude from this that Topher is planning on this game lasting a little while and trying to stay alive, but
I'm pretty nervous when there's a Conflagrate just chilling.
Yeah, so am I.
Like a slow game favors Jamie, right? Jamie could go life from the loam, bring up 3 more cards. Like they could just get so close to just burning you out right on the spot.
Yeah. The Archon will slow things up a little bit, but still, I agree with you. This is it's not feeling super comfortable here. Now we have here is the Conflagrate.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Taking down the Archon. So that it turns out, not to say that this was obviously a given that it would happen, but it results in, I guess, damage being lost. But again, if it had attacked, then this wouldn't have been necessary at all. So maybe it works out all for the better. Ox comes in, and boy,
now we get to see the power of Ox.
Yeah, all of a sudden this turn looked very strong.
2 prize amalgams were hit as well. Oh my. Okay. This one's gonna be a little tougher.
Yeah. This is gonna be okay. And Topher decides.
I just want to quickly ask, the flyer was a 2/3, and if we had put the artifact on it, it would have been a 4/5, which I don't think could have been conflagrated.
You're in that turn. You're right. There were 4 cards in hand, I believe. Yeah. So that is relevant. Whether it's say it actually impacted the outcome of the game, I don't know.
Yeah,
but you're right. It definitely mattered.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, let's talk about sideboarding. So, Mono White has cards in their deck. Some of them are great. It looks like very immediately the Cage and the 2 Rest in Pieces are making their way into the deck. Do you spy anything else that you're craving in this sideboard?
Well, I suppose, exiling is always appealing, so maybe you can make an argument for Winds of Abandon, but you do have to get a ways into the game. I don't think exiling 1 creature is super. I think you'd want to be able to get everything for 6 mana, which maybe you get that far.
We didn't get quite close to 6 mana on that game, but it was a little bit of a strange game.
But probably a few cards that can get pulled out here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what Mr. Robertson has going on in the Dredge sideboard. So we're looking at A copy of Dark Blast, 3 Lightning Axe, 3 Nature's Claim, 2 Veil of Summer, 2 Ancient Grudge, 3 Nile Spellbomb, and a Ghost Quarter. Some of that looks great, and some of it is obviously not going to help.
So are you a fan of the Nature's Claims against an Aether Vial deck?
Against just Aether Vial, I would vote no. And even against the equipment, on top of that, I would be on the fence. But with open deck lists and knowing there's Rest in Peace coming in, yeah, we're going to see them, I would expect.
Right.
Alongside Dark Blast, which, without actually counting the 1 toughness creatures in the Death and Taxes deck, I'm going to assume it's about 30. So, give or take 15. So it should work pretty well.
Sorry. I'm laughing because you were a little close to not being right. There's 8. There's four Flicker Rifts and 4 Thalias. And then I didn't see anything that would come in the sideboard, but there are some in the sideboard.
Okay, that's fair. You're right. My history as a Legacy player bit me there because I'm used to Mother of Runes also being a target.
Giver of Runes, got an extra toughness.
All right. So Dark Blast maybe came in. We're definitely going to see the Nature's Claims. Maybe Ancient Grudge also to kill the equipment, but I'm going to think maybe not. And we're looking at, again, Topher's opening hand, which looks much better than his opening hand in game 1.
Yeah, Stoneforge, we know, has some decent targets in this list. Actually, I will say a little light on targets. I don't know. I always imagined the Stoneforge players just had like infinite artifacts, but really there's only Batterskull, Maul, and Sword. 1 of each. I was just expecting like 10 artifacts. I don't know.
10. Okay, so that's...
Well, it's because they always have it. I'm like, they always have the Batterskull. What the heck?
Yeah, all right.
Oh, this is a good start for a Dredge player.
Yeah, certainly. So
no Dredge.
Price Amalgam flips over, and the only thing wrong with his opening hand for Topher is that we don't see a sideboard card, and sideboard cards against Dredge, no matter what format you're playing, are always good.
Yeah. See, they always have the Batterskull.
And you're right. It just magically appears in hand. And we did see, while that Stoneforge was going on, that one of the cards that Topher decided to remove from the deck was the copy of Sword of Fire and Ice. So
it looks like that Lava Axe came in from the Dredge player. The Lightning Axe. Yeah,
Lightning Axe takes down Stoneforge. There is another Stoneforge, and unfortunately for the second Stoneforge, there's nothing to go get, but it is still able to put in... I have not experienced a 6/6 flying Batterskull, but we may see one this game.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty cool. I wonder if we'll get to that point of the game. That's my concern at the moment.
Well, we certainly... The Topher wants to draw... the only thing Topher wants to draw right now are the Graveyard Hate cards. And there are 3, which is not an overwhelming number. And the Dredge deck, piloted by Jamie here, is just... whether it has a good start or not, as we saw last game, eventually the Dredge deck will get going, and get going in a big way like we are seeing right now.
I just wanted to let you know, I don't know if you saw this, but Jamie, that last Shriekhorn, very right in upkeep, milled the Ox. And otherwise there was nothing going on in the yard. So that was a very convenient mill leading into this broken turn that we're now seeing. Was that 3 prized amalgams? My goodness. Sometimes they trick you because there's like multiple triggers.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you said that because I saw there was 4 triggers and I wasn't sure if there was 2 or 3 in the graveyard, and it turned out to be 3. And now drawing a land. I mean,
we get to bring in the Batterskull.
Yeah, Batterskull's really good. And actually, Batterskull will be able to win this race in the long run, I believe, as getting 12 a turn is going to overcome whatever.
Wow, so it's going to eventually it could have Vigilance, Lifelink, Flying, and First Strike.
Yeah,
a lot of keywords.
It's going to be even more of a beast than it normally is. However, that's assuming everything works out okay, which Jamie may have something to say about.
Double red implies to me that Jamie's considering this Ox again. Yeah.
Okay, there's a pile of dredgers.
They're just going to try and win on this turn. Would be
Oh,
my assumption.
I don't think we're going to do, let's see, it's 11, so Topher is effectively going to be at 15 as the Batterskull will gain 4 life. And 3, 6, yeah, so Topher will survive the turn. And the germ will live also. But this is a pile of damage to take. Okay. So only turns in.
Okay. That was unexpected. Yeah, okay, so.
All right. So really, the choice here was really you're not likely to want to trade the Batterskull for the Ox. However, the Stoneforge could have chump blocked and brought in the Batterskull. And
yeah, that was what I was thinking. Because the Skyclave gets to equip anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of my thought too. But there's more. Oh my.
There's a lot of stuff coming in, and yeah, boy, 6 life is not a lot. We're not. There's no more creeping chills, so no concern for that. But
is there not one more?
I don't.
Because didn't we end up at 11? Oh no, you're right. You see, there's 4. I see 4.
Yeah, I think one may have. Yeah, all 4 have been used, I think. So here comes the attack for 6, and there's going to be looks like 3 blockers are available.
Oh, okay. So it looks like Talia's coming in now. That's probably a nod to stopping the conflagrate. But we can pay for it, can we? No, I guess we. How much mana would the conflagrate cost with Thalia in play? A flashback one.
It would cost 3.
Okay.
But so
would need a land.
Let's see how many. I'm not sure how many mountain or how many basics are in this dredge deck. But the Ghost Quarter there potentially could have stripped a land. Let me go ahead and check.
Yeah, it looks like there's only 2 mountains, so
okay.
I couldn't quite see. It is super nice for what it's worth that Jamie is displaying both Graveyard and Exile, so it is very helpful for us. Unfortunately, I don't see.
Yeah. So there's 1 mountain still in the deck, so the Ghost Quarter wouldn't have actually stripped away a land there.
Yeah, and it's totally possible that Topher did the same kind of detectiving that we're doing.
Right. Okay, so we have this, as crazy as it sounds, with all the stuff on the board for Dredge, it looks like we're in a favorable position for the Death and Taxes deck, as this Batterskull will serve in for 6 more, which makes Conflagrate harder to deal, harder to function, and what are we going to see here?
This is actually kind of cool. Like we're now at, Topher's now at 18 after being at 6 at one point.
Yeah, and so we're going to see here. We did see, since we're watching from Topher's point of view, a consultation of the deck list after last turn, and realizing, like we discussed, that there's one. This is somewhat embarrassing. So yes, there was 1 mountain in the graveyard. There's also 1 in play that we missed, which was relevant, or at least I did.
No. That got fetched. So Field of Ruin happened first, targeted the stomping grounds, brought in the mountain.
Oh, okay.
And then the Ghost Quarter targeted the mountain.
Okay.
No, we're good.
All right, cool.
There's just a lot of things happening.
Feeling kind of sheepish there as I was consulting the deck list, looking at the graveyard, and apparently ignoring the board.
No, you're good. So this is it, right? What does Jamie do to come back from this state? Because, well, I guess not anything.
Okay. 2 cards left in the deck. Unable to cast any spells. Not much going to be functional at that point. So we get to see a game 3, which is great. Yeah. We're here in our first round of the day, going the distance. We'll see if we have time for our backup match this round or not. As I don't feel like Dredge doesn't necessarily play all that many turns, but it's not a very fast deck anyway. As going back and forth between the graveyard, it's just like, for example, the upkeep step for a Dredge deck takes a lot more time than it does for anything else.
I wanted to highlight that turn. It was the last Shriekmaw activation on upkeep, and I think there was about 10 cards in yard, and no dredgers to be seen. And the last card flipped was that Ox, which allowed Jamie to discard hands which had a lot of dredgers, and then therefore draw off the Ox and kind of really take over. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Like as you said, that Batter Skull with the Sky, is it Skyclave? No, Maul.
Maul of Skyclaves, I think. Yeah.
Oh, so it is a Skyclave card. Okay, there's like infinite Skyclave cards.
Yeah, there are. There's Skyclaves are like a whole organization in this set.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of cards. In fact, multiples in this Death and Taxes deck.
Yeah. And that actually, you were right. An infinite first strike flying vigilance lifelinker really did just take over that game. So I wonder if that can happen in game 3.
Yeah, well, we'll check it out as soon as the players are ready. We'll go back down and get the final game of the match started. And if you're just joining up, thanks for being here today. We've got 6 rounds plus the top 8 brought for you today. And I guess we have a moment, so we'll go ahead and get the sideboards again.
Oh, it looks Topher is making a change.
Oh, let's see. It looks like the selections that were removed overall are Flicker Wisps, maybe a couple of them on the way out.
Oh, did Winds come in?
Yeah, Birds and Forge Tenders came in.
Ooh.
Which can stop conflagrate. Conflict. Pronounce that word for me.
Well, I say conflagrate, so
do I, and okay. I have a feeling that we're both wrong. But
yes, probably. But luckily, we're the only 2 here, so
well,
come at us, Twitch chat.
When Will checks in 5 hours, he can correct us. In the meantime, we have Graveyard Hate showing up for the first time in the match. Get that out of here. We don't need to be corrected by you, director. Okay.
Yeah, so you told me some great advice in the last game was draw your sideboard cards, and here's one in Rest in Peace.
Yeah. It's certainly, I mean, the Batter Skull plus Maul was enough last game, and it's probably worth pointing out that the Batter Skull alone probably wouldn't have been enough, I would say. Being unable to trade with the Ox and also not get through for damage because Dredge is very good at chump blocking on the ground. Here we have, well, Lightning Axe takes out the Giver of Runes. More likely to, I mean, you get the benefit both ways, to get a Dredger in the graveyard as opposed to actually kill the Giver of Runes.
But, sorry, I just wanted to highlight our Dredge opponent mulligan to nothing, I want to say. They're at 1 card in hand right now.
Yeah, so 1 card in hand. I mean, if any deck's going to recover from that, it's going to be Dredge. Are you surprised at what we saw in turn 2 from Topher Stitson?
Oh, I am very surprised. That is a greedy play from Topher, but it might pay off. But not playing that Rest in Peace is it's a little stressful for me.
I'm going to go ahead and throw out that I am shocked that happened.
But now we get to pay 1 more mana for our Rest in Peace. Don't you just feel good about that? Look, it's cost 3 mana now. Yeah,
I mean, it's still going to just come into play and just hammer Jamie out of existence for this game. But I'm curious what the reasoning for that was.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. But Dahlia does get to beat down, and we do go back to Jamie's turn. Lots of lands in hand, which we actually know about because there was a Life from the Loam cast. Maybe it wasn't cast. Was it just dredged?
No, there were. Yeah, I believe there was 2 in the graveyard. I believe one of them was dredged over to generate a couple cards in hand. We see Auriok Champion come in, and there is the Dark Blast.
Hitting one of those 31 toughness creatures.
Approximately.
Give or take.
And here is another copy of it. But, yeah, this Auriok Champion.
I have to say, is my least favorite thing when you deal with a legendary creature and your opponent's like, thank you. And then they play their other one.
I know.
Makes me so sad.
And more so than even throwing a card away yourself, you just don't want them to feel satisfied and happy with themselves, which is definitely what happened.
Oh, yeah.
So the Auriok Champion comes in here because, 1, it can block a lot of the creatures, and 2, it can gain enough life that you can get out of Conflagrate range eventually. And I've definitely seen games play out for Dredge where the Dredge player ends up getting decked because they're just unable to do enough damage to overcome the eventually, because Auriok Champions don't usually die. So once a couple of them get into play, it's just hard to keep up.
So, did we miss this? Like, did Oriok Champion and Burton Forge Tender, did they come in game 2? Like, I don't remember seeing the champion come in.
Well, we didn't see them in
Huh.
game 2, but yeah, clearly they're here now.
They seem very powerful in this spot. So
They are totally fine. Here we have a 6-mana Batter Skull.
classic.
Triple the price as normal and still just as good.
Have to admit, I don't see how Jamie's getting out of this. Do you have any plans?
No, this game is done. There's a Stinkwood which could trade off with the Germ, except not, as the Pathfinder Cell is going to wipe it out. And even if it could deal with the Germ, the other creatures would probably wipe the game out anyway. So yeah, Jamie mulligans basically to death in this game. However, with a couple land, I mean, and this is kind of just crazy the way, like, if this was the game 2 hand for Topher, Jamie on a mold at 3, let's say, with a couple land and a Life from Loam that ate into the graveyard could catch up.
Mm-hmm.
But Rest in Peace just annihilates that whole